play yesterday, that was exactly the scenario. And we also saw Hikaru just burning time in very tense positions, not really wanting to strike or to take any concrete measures. And there we see the players getting ready. I kind of agree with you, Christian. I think Hikaru is angry. He kind of expected this to be over. He doesn't want to be exactly like
By the way, just on that note, Wesley said, I like to play in the Blitz tournament. He didn't think he was going to make it to today. So when you have that type of attitude, whatever happens today is
this thing could potentially develop into a very sharp line. If you try ideas of, as we will see later on, c4, b3, get the bishop on the long diagonal, and then if black decides to play with the move, maybe, and by the way, DJ c4 is a big move in this position. He decided not to, allowing white to defend that pawn on c4 with b3. Now you can no longer take on c4, because if you do,
Hikaru. And what is it? What else could
Bishop e7, okay, that's a different approach. Bishop d6 is one of the main lines, and try to play in the center for e5. No, bishop to e7 is a bit more of a passive approach, and it leads to this type of situations.
Isolated queen pawn d4.
Maybe isolated, maybe hanging if you decide to play b6. Knight to c6.
Like it.
I do like it, and white has predominantly developed the light squared bishop. There it goes, e2.
e2. Well, also through his own move, so bishop to e2. Well, these are the type of positions where you start to define I want to say kind of a tarash, where you try to put your bishop on f6 in order to neutralize the fianchetto bishop. So knight f6 would get my attention.
This is the more testing move, and he played it. He knows it.
And what about d takes?
That's the main move.
It's the main move, yeah.
And now bishop f6, or
that's right, bishop f6.
And we have to play something like knight d4.
Perhaps rook to c1 first, or knight to d4. Those are the couple of options that you have in the position.
And from a theoretical point of view, what's the score like when you get into these games? And we do see d4.
It's fairly decent for white, especially if you go for this bishop f6, rook to c1, queen a5, knight to d4. This is more or less forced, right? You have to defend
c6, yes.
You have to defend that knight on c3 somehow.
Right.
And after knight takes c5, we have knight takes c6, and we transition into the hanging pawns.
I see.
Right? This type of positions, white scores quite well, 62% victories in this position.
62%.
That's a very
from below. That's us.
Right.
And
I think podcasters are just we're just half a step above.
I think so.
Commentators are half a step above podcasters.
Why?
Because we're more challenged. we work longer hours.
Sounds radio.
Oh.
That was uncalled for, Yobi. Okay, I take it back.
Hikaru, and he's gone for what would you?
Every move draws, right?
Except Rook
I have a table base,
20
and let me
moves that
tell
all
you
draw.
the losing moves. The losing moves are Rook A3. You're not going to play that. Rook
G3.
E5 and Rook G6. There. Anything else?
So you have 3 moves that drop a whole rook, and everything else draws.
Exactly.
Just don't blunder your rook.
Rook G8, threaten Rook H8, and that's it. Yep. He goes for it. We're probably going to see King H6, Rook H8, Rook H7. No. Hikaru says Rook H7 first.
There was a movie made on the racehorse Secretariat. Don't blunder your rook, Wesley. Don't blunder
No,
your rook.
I mean, this is impossible. And our king goes to G7. Wesley
That's funny. Whoa. I'm just making sure. Well, one stalemate brought about another stalemate. That was intriguing to say the least. As the first game was a draw. Sure.
It is a draw, and I do feel that Hikaru playing with the white pieces will perhaps be disappointed with that outing, because you do want to put your opponent under a little bit more pressure